What's going on? Oh my god, I keep getting text messages. What's going on, guys? I'm back with another video to everybody's surprise. My first one was a bit of a fluke and overall not very good. However, we are slowly seeking to improve that. So I was thinking about what videos I was going to make, and decided to make one about my experience working at Dick's Sporting Goods. I have a few kinks I need to work through. For example, I'm not very good at this. I'm awkward in front of camera, and my lighting kind of sucks. However, I'm hoping with some experience, we'll get through that. Let's get talking, I guess, right? So in June of 2020, one of my friends was offered a job at a Dick's Sporting Goods near my house, and I was pretty excited by the idea of it, applying as soon as I could. At the time, I never had a formal job. I would take various day-long gigs to make $50 in cash, but I never had stable income. So during this time, I was more interested in just getting out of the house, simply because there was absolutely nothing going on in the summer of 2020 because of pandemic, stuff like that, closures. And I ended up submitting my first application in the first or second week of June for a retail sales associate position. Little did I know, look where I am today. I expected to hear back from the store after a few weeks, but to my disappointment, I didn't. Multiple weeks went by and I hadn't heard anything, which prompted me to submit another application for a different position. And by the end of the whole process, throughout June and July, and I don't think I submitted any in August, but I submitted about 5 or 6 applications to 2 different locations. The first location didn't respond at all. They did not tell me they wanted me for an interview, or I didn't get declined either, like rejected. So I just assumed that hope was lost, essentially. And then the second location rejected me for pretty much every position that I applied for. However, more on that later. So like I said, I assumed hope was lost. I was just like, maybe Dick's Sporting Goods, it's not for me. So I ended up looking for other jobs in my area, and throughout the final weeks of July and the entire month of August. To my surprise, one day I was laying on my couch just looking at stupid stuff on the internet, and I ended up getting a call from a number that had the same area code as me, and I thought this was interesting, so I picked it up. It's like, maybe this is something important. And little did I know, it was Dick's Sporting Goods calling me to come in for an interview for a position. I was pretty shocked at the time, so I was more than happy to come in. And I mean, I had to touch my application over 5 weeks. So I was like, this is interesting. Came in for an interview. The interview process was relatively straightforward, from what I remember. I sat with one of the managers at his desk for about 30 minutes. I answered questions like, what does good customer service look like? And what is one time you completed your goals? And I just gave generic answers for those. I ended up getting an offer for a job a few days later. I later came in for orientation for the first day, which was simply just like the most boring stuff ever online. You just watched a bunch of videos and like reviewed the history of the company, which wasn't that exciting. But the day after orientation day, I came in for another shift. I finished the videos. I was put on the floor for the first time as the ambassador, which is just a position where you stand up front and harass everybody who comes into the store. I was later put in the soccer section, which was exactly what I was hired for. I've played for 11 years or 12 years or something like that, so I felt comfortable answering questions about cleats to moms of preschoolers came in. Really wasn't a big deal to me. Wasn't too nervous about it. It was pretty easy. One thing I will say is that you actually have very little training on the floor. You kind of just get thrown into the position and you have to learn it as you go, which isn't too hard. Nothing was that difficult. It's just you need to be confident in yourself, and it can be a little bit stressful getting started. Of course, there are many people willing to give you help while you frantically run around trying to tend to customers' needs. The basics of the job are pretty easy to get a hold of. You learn how to use the scanners, which just like check the inventory. And so during the first couple weeks, I found myself pretty active, simply because it was like peak soccer season, and like I said, millions of parents were coming in frantically buying cleats for their kid. Looking back on it, it was a bit of a pain in the ass. I guess I enjoyed it. I wasn't really sure at the time I did. Looking back, I would not want to do it again. If you were to ask me if I enjoy my job, I would answer with certain aspects of it, yes, others no. So one of the great opportunities you get working at Dick's as a teenager is that there are a ton of young people there that you'll meet at work. And honestly, the people who you work with really determines how much you like it or how well that day goes. Work can be really fun if you make a couple friends that you can have fun with, because, you know, it's easier to struggle as a group. Every teenager knows that, right? I have to say the social aspect of work is probably my favorite part about it. It's also a decent opportunity to broaden your perspectives, as you'll have a newly found respect for anybody who works in retail, because it is a pain, let me tell you. You'll learn to hate the customer. Job keeps you on your feet and moving around. I personally walked multiple miles a day, and my position it's not like the most walking and the most walking full position in the store, if that makes sense. Personally, I enjoy moving around because it keeps the day going, and it's better than sitting down, because that is a pain. Yet, here I am. Now I want to talk about the cons a little bit. Some of the interactions with customers will make you lose your mind, and I'm telling you, you'll have to deal with a lot of complaining and understand that is your fault if the store doesn't have a product or if it's out of stock. It's very hard for people to recognize that you are not in charge of the supply of the company, and you are simply a young teenager, or in my case, a teenager looking for something to do, and that I am not like planning on working at Dick's for the rest of my life. However, most of the people are pleasant. You just remember the negative interactions more. Sometimes a job can make you feel overwhelmed, as it if like there have been numerous times where I'm just like, why are there 7 people up my ass currently? Which I will say that the job, even though it's stressful at times, it is relatively relaxed. Like, I enjoy my managers, they're all pretty cool. It's generally a pretty good time. One of my largest complaints is that your schedule isn't always recognized, and some people get the impression that you can spend every living hour of your life at Dick's Sporting Goods, which sometimes it gets old, I'll be honest. If you submit a new availability, so if you submit a new availability, it's going to take at least like 2-3 weeks for that to even go into the system, which isn't the most convenient thing ever. Adding on that, it's also difficult to call off work. Not many people are willing to take your shift, and I mean, I guess that kind of works. That's kind of relative to where you are, but still, I found it pretty difficult at times, and your only option is to call off, which you'll sometimes find ridiculous, because there have been times where they've scheduled literally everybody on the same day. You physically cannot ask anybody to take your shift because everybody's already at the store. Random Saturdays, they'll just schedule everybody, and then, you know, the one person that can take it doesn't respond to you until the Monday after. But lastly, if you don't set your defined times, even if you do, you can work some really long shifts. On Black Friday, I worked 10 hours. I've worked various like 8-hour shifts, and then eventually, like end of November, I was just like, I'm done with this. I'm submitting, you know, the most I'll do is 6. And I prefer like 5 at most. So generally, I work weeknights for 4 hours-ish. I'll go like 5 to close. I will say though, all the cons are minor inconveniences or annoyances. I don't have any like major complaints with the company. For the most part, everyone there is friendly and has your back. So now we get into the hours and pay. A starting wage for the company, which they implemented company-wide, is $11 per hour, which isn't that bad when you're starting out as a teenager. However, there are better options. I make $11.35. I don't know how I pulled that off, but I wasn't gonna say to them, no, lower my pay, please. I want that. So now talking about the hours, those are all determined by what's on your schedule, but like I said before, it's not always respected. When you are scheduled out of your set time, the managers are generally pretty flexible with working around that. So, you know, you can just call in and talk to one of your managers, and they'll usually fix it for you, or they'll say like, okay, yeah. With that said, if we're talking about my hours personally, throughout the fall of 2020, I was working about 20 hours per week, making about $440 per paycheck. You get paid every 2 weeks on Fridays, which it's not bad. I like waking up on Friday, seeing money in my bank account. I will say though, working 20 hours per week during school, not really recommended, because it is exhausting. I was working Saturday, Sunday, and then multiple shifts during the weekdays, and it just got to be a lot. Towards the holidays, you'll find yourself scheduled a lot more. So from like November to December, you can work a lot because they will literally schedule you. There were numerous times when I called in and asked them, hey, can I come in? Because I want to work, and I was allowed to. After Christmas though, there's a huge drop off, especially in January. Like at the date of recording this, January 19th, I have worked twice this year. Final verdict. Working at Dick's Sporting Goods is a decent option if you're a teenager looking to meet some new people your age. I can say that with certainty that wherever you go across the country, you'll find a pretty similar experience. There'll be a lot of high schoolers working there. I mean, I've had a lot of laughs at work and I've made a decent amount of friends to the point where I find work bearable. So I would recommend the place if you're looking to have a supplementary social experience outside of sports and school. If you're trying to maximize the amount of money you make though, this probably isn't the job for you. The base pay is decent. However, I said there are definitely better options. Target, for example, my brother works there. He gets paid more than I do. Finally, I mean, the pay is decent, and if you're focused on meeting people your age, like I said, I would recommend trying it. Generally, the most people I've talked to there enjoy it to some extent. But other than that, that's about all I have to say about it. If you have any specific questions, feel free to ask them in the comments, and I'll respond to them because I have absolutely nothing else to do. So other than that, thanks for watching. Take care, guys.